Hey, my name's Rusty Korhonen and I've got a story for you. My dad was born in Finland, in Helsinki, and he celebrated his 13th birthday on the Atlantic on the way to America. When he got here, he didn't speak any English, and he had to work really hard academically, but eventually he worked his way into medical school. Right after he graduated, he got tagged in the Vietnam doctor draft. Well, because he was an immigrant, he was given choice of service, and he immediately chose the Navy. After all, my grandfather, his father, was a Finnish naval captain, and he thought, hey, I'll get assigned to some cushy aircraft carrier and it'll be a great time. He said, I never heard of the Marines before. He's since said that it was some of the best training he could ever have wished for, and for many years he was the only doctor in our part of the state that had any major gun trauma experience. Any of the police that had a shooting injury, my dad was the first one usually to be there. Consequently, he didn't get very many speeding tickets. I was born, and he very quickly was shipped down to Camp Pendleton for training and then sent out to Dong Ha. So he was stationed at a Navy Marine Corps hospital very close to the demilitarized zone in the northern part of Vietnam. A lot of action, a lot of wounded soldiers. Well, when my dad got there, he very quickly became friends with another Finn who was from Michigan's Upper Peninsula. Well, they quickly decided that this camp needed to have a sauna. So they scrounged everywhere they could to find wood, and they were able to build a structure. Not a big one, but a pretty decent structure. And the hospital had just replaced one of their autoclaves, so they figured out a way to jury rig it into a sauna stove. Well, the only thing they didn't have were sauna stones. My dad said there's nothing around that would even resemble something appropriate as a sauna stone. So one day he's walked into the supply tent, and the supply clerk was talking to him. My dad points over to a pile of grenades and said, "What's up with those?" And he said, "Oh, we've drilled all the powder out of those. Those are going back and they'll be melted down into something else. Sauna stones." Well, grenades are made out of steel, right? So he said, "Can I have some of those?" He said, "Take as many as you want." So he grabbed an armful, and he said they stacked them up on this autoclave and fired up the sauna. He said that thing got hot. He said those grenades were glowing red. He said it was really kind of eerie seeing all these grenades on the sauna stove, kind of a dull red color when you were throwing water on them. He did say it was the hottest sauna he had ever had. But I guess word got out because a lot of the top military brass that had to rotate through there came asking about the sauna and could they take one. And my dad and his Finnish buddy were very adamant that, hey, this is a Finnish sauna, so we only go in the raw. But he said it was a real big hit. So leave it to us Finns to be creative when it comes to that, huh? My dad also was a connoisseur of wine. And one day, a Marine Corps sergeant came up to him and said, "Doc, do you have a minute?" My dad said, "Sure." He goes, you know a lot about wine, right?" My dad said, "Yeah." He said, "Would you follow me?" So he followed him, and well, the Marines had been digging a trench on this hospital property, digging some foxholes in the trench system, and they stumbled on an old French wine cellar. Well, if you remember from history, the French were in Vietnam before the Americans. There were 2 cases of Chateau Lafite Rothschild, 1949. And my dad knew enough about wine that is phenomenal wine. He opened it up. He said it was amazing. He said it even tasted good drinking it out of a tin cup. His Marine buddies really enjoyed their beanies and weenies that night with a real special treat. So it just goes to show you, no matter what life throws you, at least enjoy the wine, right? My dad and his Finnish friend were operating on a bunch of Marines who were in a horrific battle, and the hospital complex started to get bombed. And my dad said it was pretty bad, the worst he had seen there. They were patching these Marines up just as fast as they could, and there was one Marine who was really badly injured in the leg, and they could save him, but it was a very tricky procedure. They didn't want this guy to bleed out, so an order came from the top that they had to bug out. The entire hospital had to move, and move like right now. So my dad and this Finn said, we'll be out as soon as we can, but we can't rush this, we're almost done. My dad said as he was putting the last piece of plaster on this Marine's leg cast, his Finnish buddy picked this guy up. He's a big Finn. Picked him up. My dad grabbed all the equipment that needed to go with him, and they ran out of that hospital. My dad said 2 steps out of that hospital and kaboom, the entire thing blew up. He said 1 second before, they all would have been killed. He said it was absolutely amazing, terrifying. Well, my dad put his buddy up for a medal, and he said and nothing ever materialized out of it, but he said I've never seen anybody run that fast with carrying another human being. He said it was really impressive. We Finns are tough, and the Finns that have been in war, doesn't matter where, they know what sisu is and they know how to make it through. Well, hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like, please hit the like and subscribe button. My name is Rusty Korhonen. I hope you have a fantastic day.